everyone. Welcome back to my kitchen. Okay, so I hear that a lot of you really liked The Road to Emmaus and that you had a lot of fun doing all those worksheets and the talk points. So we thought we'd do another lesson this way too. And the lesson we're going to focus on this time is called The Good Shepherd, which is a parable that Jesus told. And basically a parable is just a little story that Jesus once told to his followers to kind of express or illustrate the lesson he wanted them to learn or something he wanted them to know that was important. So, before we start, I have a challenge for you. So, before we tell the lesson or the parable of the Good Shepherd, I want you to see if you can find 100 of something. I know, that's a big number. I didn't think I had 100 of anything, but I found that if I looked around, I found something. So the thing that I have 100 of is I have 100 pennies, a whole dollar worth of pennies. And what we're going to do is when our focus phrase comes up, the lesson or the moral that Jesus wants us to kind of focus on, and that's important to the story, we're going to stop what we're doing, talk about it a little bit, and then see if we can finish this challenge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my items and I'm going to name them. There's only 100. I should be able to remember this one. So I'm going to name him because who's on the front here? It's Lincoln. So I'm going to name my penny Lincoln. And I'm going to put him back into the fold. I'm going to stir him up a little bit so that you guys know that he really is in there. I didn't say the special penny that's going to be Lincoln. And the phrase that we're going to focus on that is important to the story is this one. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. That's kind of interesting. So when that comes up, we'll stop what we're doing, try to guess or remember which item we named, and then we'll talk about this, okay? Perfect. Okay. The parable of the Good Shepherd. This is a story that Jesus told his followers or disciples to share kind of a lesson or a moral. And he starts off like this. So there are two types of shepherds. There are the shepherds that own their own flock, and there are the hired shepherds. And his kind of lesson is that to be a good shepherd, you have to be invested. You have to really care for your sheep to be important. And when the disciples are all kind of looking around like, well, I mean, how's that any different than a hired shepherd? He tells them this story. So one day, the good shepherd opened up the gate for his flock. And that's what they call a group of sheep, is a flock. And he noticed that they were a little scared. They didn't want to come out of their pen. So what he did is he walked into the pen. The gates were wide open, so they could go out at any time. But he walked in and he said hello to everybody, make sure they were okay, make sure they knew that it was him that was opening up the door. And then once he said hello to everybody, he turned around, he walked out the gate, and then he said, come on guys, come on sheep. So the sheep, seeing that their friend, their leader, their shepherd, had walked out of the gate and he was saying that it was okay to come out, they then felt safe. They were like, okay, phew. Our shepherd is here. He watches out for us. He takes care of us when we're sick. He feeds us lots of good food. If he says it's okay to go there, then it must be okay. So they follow him out and they go about their day. They spend all day long on a big grassy field. They're eating, chomping away. When they start to get thirsty, there's not a river nearby. So he goes over to a well and he brings up buckets and buckets and buckets of water so that all of his sheep can get a good drink. Now, probably right about now, you're wondering how many sheep he has. I bet you can guess. This shepherd in particular has 100 sheep, and he knows all of them. He can recognize who they are right away, no problems. So the days finish up, the sun's about to go down. He's like, we need to get going back home. All my sheep need to be safe in their houses before the night comes. So he brings them all back in, he opens up the gate, the sheep start going in, and he's counting, making sure they're all there, 98, 99. Uh-oh. Where is sheep 100? He's counting, and he only gets to 99. He counts again, still only 99 sheep. Now, some people would say, well, that's just one sheep. You've got 99 right here. That'd be like me saying that this sheep, all by its lonesome, is more important than all of these sheep together. Now, some people would say, obviously, all of these sheep are more important than that one. But the Good Shepherd doesn't have that viewpoint. Every single sheep is important to him. So what he does is he closes up the gate, makes sure the 99 are okay, and then he starts looking. And he looks all over every place they've been that day. He goes to the well, the grassy field. He goes along the road in between, trying to find, looking. And then all of a sudden, he's quiet and he hears the sheep calling for him. The sheep is going, bah, right? That's the sound sheep make. And so he's like, I found it. So he runs, looking all over for a sheep. And he finds him. He finds the little sheep that was lost. And it wasn't that just that the sheep wasn't paying attention and he wandered off and he kind of lost sight of the herd. No, this sheep was caught. He was caught in a bush and he couldn't get out. So the shepherd untangles all of his wool, kind of pets him, makes sure that he's okay, holds him close to his heart, and then carries him over his shoulder all the way back to the pen so that he's returned with his flock of 99 fellows. That way then everybody is safe and back together. Now the next morning, when everybody's kind of talking about it, they're like, well, how did you know that somebody was missing? Why did you leave your 99 sheep to go rescue one? That doesn't make any sense. The shepherd says this phrase, I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. And I kind of think what he's talking about there is that he's the good, by being a good shepherd, he means that he takes care of them. He cares about them more than just his way to live. Like, they're important. They're part of his family. And to be a good shepherd, you have to know all of the sheep. Otherwise, how would he recognize that one is missing? And so I think what Jesus was kind of trying to share here was that God, in this case, is our good shepherd. He's kind of the one watching over all of us. He makes sure that we have the things that we need in life. He's leading the way, making sure that we're not afraid, and he's also taking care of us throughout the day. And that kind of makes us the sheep, right? And what about that one sheep who was lost or hurt? Sometimes when you're lost or hurt, I've been lost before, it's really scary and you kind of feel like you're all alone. But did this good shepherd in this story just forget about the lost sheep? No. He went looking for him. He made sure his flock was okay, and then he stayed up all night looking for his lost sheep to make sure he was okay and bring him back home. So now that story is over, I want you to go back to your 100 items and to see if you can remember which thing you named. To tell you the truth, I don't think I can, because they all look pretty the same to me. So I think that's another way that God is different than us. God knows all of us inside and out without us having to do anything spectacular or strange or different. Because I mean, all these pennies, they all look a little different, but they all kind of look the same too. And God knows that even though sometimes you might feel like, well, I don't stand out. There's nothing really special about me. I'm just Camille. I go to church. I come home. I work. I eat dinner. There's nothing fantastic about me. I think it proves that God still sees us as important. I'm just as important as anybody else in the world, and I'm just as much as loved by God as anybody else too. And anybody else is loved just as much as God loves me. So that was our story, or our parable of the Good Shepherd. So, to finish this all up, there are talking points and coloring sheets and even a game for you to play in the things that we are sending home with you. So if you'd like, or something that I would like you to do, while you are discussing these or playing these games, feel free to take pictures, anything like that, and reach out to me with questions about the story, because I'd love to see what you guys are doing at home, okay? Alrighty. Well, I will see you guys next week with a whole new story. I hope you have a nice evening, okay? Bye-bye.